Last week we turned this barren piece of land into a full-fledged mountain bike trail. But right now, it just ends at this drainage ditch. So to take a break from building just flat trail, let's build a feature. I would like to turn this ditch into a gap jump. That will turn our trail into a green with blue rated features. First, we need a takeoff, and I think I have just the thing to do the trick. We have some old pieces of deck that we cut up and we need to use in some way. First, we need to dig it into the ground. This process consists of a lot of digging, testing, more digging, adjusting, and well, you get the point. Once I was satisfied with how the lip sat in the ground, I needed to clean up the decking a little bit. Normally, this wouldn't be part of building a jump from scratch, but I'm trying to be resourceful and use what I have. Now, to secure this in the ground. To do this, I'm digging 2 holes and using, you guessed it, more wood we got from chopping up the old deck. Now, I'm not sure if you can tell, but this is the first jump I've ever made, so if I look like I have no clue what I'm doing, it's because I probably don't. In this case, I was trying to fasten the post to the outside of the deck, when I could have just removed a couple screws and flipped the whole thing around. Smart, right? After securing the post with lag bolts, it was time to move on to the landing. First, I tilled up the trail after the jump so we could use the dirt to create a nice level surface. But before we can build a landing, we need to see how this thing rides. After clearing the flags multiple times, I decided it was about where I wanted the landing to be. My goal for this jump wasn't for it to be huge since you have to pedal like mad to get any height. I just wanted a fun warm-up feature on the access trail. It also doubles as a way to get across the ditch. Now, we had these old railroad ties that were scattered around and I wanted to do something with them. Most of them were pretty rotted and had become homes for the local wildlife. But I thought we could still use them to cage the landing. That means creating a sort of box to hold dirt so we don't have to shape it by hand. Now, I know this seems really simple, but we had a lot of head scratching about the most effective use of the railroad ties. After a lot of talking, I decided to cut the big ones about 2/3 of the way down for the sides. We also cut a smaller one into 2 unequal pieces to serve as the back. Now, let's assemble this giant box to hold dirt. First, we need to make sure the ties are level. After that, we need something to keep them together. To do this, I made stakes out of 2x4s and drove them into the ground, then fastened them to the ties with deck screws. These stakes serve a dual purpose. Not only do they keep the railroad ties from falling over, but they also keep the ones that have split from falling apart. To give the sides more support, especially where the ties had split, I drilled some holes and hammered in some old tent stakes to serve as giant nails. Later, I did come back and put in some lag screws I had lying around to further hold the ties together. I think it's gonna be pretty good. It's gonna be quite a pedal from back there, but if you look right now, the straight line of the jump is pretty much on the right hand side of the trail. So today I'm gonna try and fix that. Now to fix the run up. As I said, it wasn't in a straight line with the jumps. In order to take off straight, you basically had to ride in the grass. This could have easily been avoided if I'd taken a little more time to line everything up in the first place. But we will know that for next time. Now we need to fill this box with dirt, and that might take a while. Unless... Well, that saved us a lot of time. Next, we need to shape this landing. Now, usually when you are building landings, you put the dirt on in layers and then pack each individual layer down. But here we just have a mass of dirt, and that is going to settle a bunch over time. So I'm leaving the jump slightly overfilled so as the dirt sinks, it gets closer to the level we actually want it. Next, we need to pack the landing. In order to do that, we need water. First, we wet the dirt down. Then, we can use a flat shovel to pack it. A quick tip, when you're packing with a flat shovel, pack and then slide your shovel back. This will keep mud from sticking to your shovel. Strangely, this is super satisfying to do by hand, as well as watch. Once it has dried, we can come back and pack it with the hand tamper to give it a nice flat surface. If we use the tamp while it was still wet, the dirt would just stick to the tamp and it would be a nightmare. Trust me, I know. Another thing we need to do is come by later and scrape some dirt off the high spots and throw it back on the parts that have settled. After that, we'll need to wet it and pack it one last time. After a few days of drying, the landing is ready. I guess that means it's time to send. Okay, so I guess it's time you knew. I confess, I can't jump. But to be fair, I've never had any real jumps to practice on. Yes, I can bunny hop pretty high and boost it off curbs, but jumping? Never. So I guess I'll be building a ninny board, or a board that goes over the gap. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, Ivan, you can't jump, and you decided to build a jump with a gap in the middle for your first time? Yes, I know it's not very smart, but hey, I was using the materials I had. What's wrong with that? Besides, how hard could jumping be? Okay, take two. I cleared it. See? Told you jumping wasn't that hard. So we're done now, right? Nope. While I was practicing off camera, of course, I had some really sketchy moments where I took off wrong and landed all crooked. And while some may attribute this to my jumping ability, I think it's something different. What I think the problem was is the ground was coming along here, and then this was up, and that was a harsh transition. And we need to get rid of that harsh transition. Here's what I mean. Normal wooden lips are built by using a string to trace an arc onto a piece of wood and then cutting it out. This, after you put planks on it, makes for a perfectly curved lip that blends with the ground. My takeoff is straight, so it forms a sort of angle with the ground. The angle causes the transition to be harsh, which I think is throwing off my wheel. So to fix that, I'm going to attach some scrap 2x6s to the sides at an angle and replank the top. This will make the transition from the ground to the boards a lot smoother. I'm liking the look of that, kind of. I'm gonna go ahead and dig in the other side and then lay boards across the top, and we'll see what we shall see. I think that is a lot better. So, before, after. It's just, when you look at it from the side, it's so much more gradual. After making sure the boards were level, I filled in the part underneath the jump with dirt so nothing would start living in there. Then I had to replank this part, which was a lot harder than I anticipated, given that we were working with old deck boards. I had to pre-drill all the holes so they wouldn't split. After securing the planks with salvage screws, I used a circular saw to trim off the sides. I also added a transition piece and used the leftover dirt to blend the wood with the ground. I also gave the landing a spruce up by raking off the plant matter and tamping it down. Now it was time to see how this thing felt. Ooh. Oh yeah. That's a lot better. Either that or there's just less wind. This thing feels a heck of a lot better than it did before. It makes jumping feel more natural, and that's a good thing, considering my jumping knowledge is somewhat limited. You didn't think we were gonna stop there, did you? Come on, we still have one more thing to do. Okay. So, this thing works great. You barely have to pull up at all, which is good considering it isn't on a downslope. This jump accomplished exactly what I wanted. Oh yeah. A nice, easy, fun warm-up feature. It also serves as a case study for all the future features we are going to build. But I'm still missing something. A name. If you have any good ones, let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching. Now get out there and find your flow. Oh yeah.